Hi there. This is a sort of summary of all the updates that I've done to the 1.3 version. As usual, there is a Discord forum where you can post bug reports and put feature requests in. I've sort of keep track of everything that I do in here in terms of features, when they're likely. I kind of tag everything. So as a user, you should get access to that. If you don't, please drop me a line or comment and I'll send you the email address. So to launch, you can run just the exe, but for any debugging you want to post, I encourage you to run the debug.bat. When you run that, it's going to create a little debug log file here, and it will run that per session. So that's in the root of the folder, and you can delete those as you need. Okay, so I'll do a little sort of summary of some UI updates that have gone in there. Pretty much everything's the same as you'd see, so I think the previous videos will be valid, but it's worth me just summarizing kind of what's been updated. There's a lot, so I'm going to miss stuff, but yeah, I'll go through it now. So workflow wise, I've basically consolidated a lot of those down and I've organized them into what the source material is. Well, it's the equirectangular footage, which is stitched from the 360 cameras, or if it's raw, and that's the fisheye sort of data that's captured from the camera before it's been processed. I've got workflows for the Insta360, the Osmo/Avatar, and the Qualcomm cameras. I've also added in under extraction LUTs for each of these three cameras. I've tested the Insta360 one against the LUT footage within Insta360 Studio. It looks the same. If you end up downloading a new one, you can actually add it in here as a direct path and then apply it. When you load a workflow, it's going to turn it off. So if you want to keep one permanent, you can just use this little plus icon and then save a specific workflow for you. Basically, I found I was leaving it on and then adding double LUTs to videos and stuff like that, so I made that decision to do that. Also kind of made this wider, so when you're really narrow, it will expand across so it's readable as well. I've also, in the external tab, I've added in these sort of external tool buttons, and basically under the advanced section, and certain workflows will require this, like having Cubemap added or reality scan. You basically click on add tool here, a little pop-up, browse to where your executable is, and add a name, and that name is what's going to appear up here as well. This used to work here, but I just found this was easier to kind of add the buttons in up there as well. I've also added a capture console output, which captures a session and an accumulative one. Those files can get a little large, so I've added in delete buttons for them as well. If you don't want to capture that console, which is basically when you run the external workflows, everything's logged in here, which is useful for debugging purposes. So some people asked for, sometimes it's useful for me to have them as well if you're reporting bugs, but you will basically turn that on and then it will output there. The other sort of major things that are being added in is a multicam workflow, which I'll kind of take you through, and all of the raw workflows have basically been consolidated down to a Cubemap export. So when it's done the fisheye alignment within Cubemap, what we used to have was this understort, and I found the understort was actually cropping into the lens quite a lot. And I'll show you some examples of the images that it outputs, but we're basically losing a lot less data doing it with the Cubemap method, and I found that the Gaussian Splat Training seems to come out of better quality as well. So yeah, that's the sort of two major sort of changes in this version. So in terms of the multicam raw workflow, it's limited to the same camera because the camera intrinsics need to be the same for Cubemap. Potentially I can look at mix and matching those, but it added a large layer of complexity on everything. So you would load up this Multicam Raw, and then it's going to load in the external workflow, and everything else kind of works pretty similar if you've been running stuff previously, except for this fisheye Cubemap. There's also a sort of Litchfield Guts version here, which is turned on, and then running that training. Essentially, that's doing the understore within Litchfield itself. So it's just a different methodology. People seem to prefer the Cubemap versus this, but I wanted to include it. Please let me know if there's any issues with it though, and report bugs if and when you find them. Okay, so in terms of running multicam, so this was basically shot walking along a canal with sort of 3 heights, and I shot multiple videos. So often you would shoot that maybe in one video, because then you're recording a little bit better overlap between everything. But what you do is you just drag all 3 files on, and it's very similar to the equirectangular method, where you're just turning on multicam and then running a sort of standard workflow. When these are loading, you'll get thumbnails sort of getting built. Nothing's extracted. The key thing in the workflow is to turn multicam on, and what that'll do is once you pick the workflow, that will be the same whenever you move across each camera. Now, some of the settings between the cameras can be different, but of course we're running the same workflow across all 3. So the same thing if I turn off any of the tab workflows, when I switch cameras, that's going to be the same. So say I just wanted to extract the videos first, I can just do batch all here. And what that does is I've added it so it will find, like, I think 01, 02, 03, high, low, mid, in terms of the height. So kind of how you would name the videos when you extract them from whichever platform you're using. It will then take those names off when you turn multicam on, so you'll see the project get switched to Underbridge. And then in the frames output, it's going to retain the video names as each of the cameras. So each frame masking is all divided up into the camera names. And so when you switch between them, it's going to load up each stream, basically. And see, so let's move on to the next one for extracting. Over here, this one hasn't started yet. I also fixed a bug because I had 2 image streams now. I'll actually go into one of these, which this one is mid. There's a front and back lens done separately. It is possible to stitch them as one single if you're using this in another bit of software down in the advanced section. But everything is designed to work with them as separate streams because of the way the Cubemap is going to get split up and so on. So I don't advise you to turn this on, but just in case you needed it. So yeah, this is extracting. Now, what I found works quite well is under the masking. So what I could do is turn this off, go to masking, and then under the paint mode, we've got this boost exposure. That's useful for when you want to see what you're painting the mask on. But in the raw workflow, the camera is going to be visible. So what I find is I'll paint this and then I'll do apply to all frames. And what I'll do is I'll show you how this is getting outputted. So this is under our mid, and you'll get under paint just where I painted that mask, and it's outputted them all the frames. Combine hasn't been run. You can see this goes orange here, and that's basically alerting you the fact that they've not been combined, and that won't go into the output. So if you make alterations, paint additional masks, you need to make sure you run the combine if you're not running it in batch mode or anything like that. And so if for AI here, I'm just going to run person. and it will run through each front lens and back lens. And I only did the run here, so if I'm doing it there, it's only going to run on this particular camera. If I did batch, it'll run it on all of them. But you have to make sure you've got to turn on the step, basically the mode, which is what this little checkbox does. The reason for doing it this way round is that it will do a combine after the AI masking is run. So even if I just drag this along, you can see it's written that frame out. Obviously at 50%, it's going to jump on to the next set of frames. Sometimes you get little display errors like this, and that's purely while it's running. It should be fine. Yeah, you can see now it's reading both streams. And so if I went into the AI masking, that's where that is. When it runs combine, it's also going to run the shape mask. So I've got fisheye circle on here, and that basically just means Cubemap is going to ignore everything that's in the masking because we just want to use the image and none of the borders. Often should just ignore that for having no features in it, but it's using masking just to make sure that occurs. So you can see now it's running the combine. So if we go into our combine mode, that's the paint mask and the fisheye and the AI mask all being run at the same time. And you'll get a little that goes blue after that's run. So you would pick multicam. I often will kind of do these. You have to kind of go back and do the paint mask because it's not going to, I haven't found a way of getting it to discover the camera. Another thing I did add in is in the advanced section, there's a detection mode for fisheye. So for the equirectangular, you would use the Unwrap 360, and fisheye is attempting to do an understort before it applies the AI masking, basically just to try and give a better result. What I tend to find is in terms of the AI masking, I will do a mask single just to see if these are working right. I did add in living person and person walking, which if you're on the Discord, you'll see we did a little tip section trying to avoid statues and the like. And often, you know, if I got a backpack, I might put that in, or cap or something like that. The more you add in here, the more runs of the detection it's doing. So if I did mask single again, it's running this 3 times basically to do that. So if you had a long list, it can be a lot slower to do that detection. And this one, because I've switched lenses, you'll see this has the paint mask. So you can do it this way round, but you have to do the combine afterwards. So if I went in and said, right, I need to paint the camera out. I'm just going to paint the camera out here because I'm being reflected. If I then ran apply all to all frames, sometimes I found you need to rerun the AI one. So we are on the low camera. Oh yeah, sorry, that's because I only ran it on a single, didn't run it on all the rest. So say, you know, you wouldn't really do it this way. I find you just do a run here, applies them all, and then does the combine. If I ran this combine now, it will generate the fisheye shape mask, and you can see the paint mask is in there, and in one of them, whichever frame I added it on, yeah, the first frame will have that particular, yeah, there's the AI masking. So that's just the sort of how that prep works in there. If I load up previous project from the same group, and something you can do, which is quite useful, I'm just going to save that, is you can drag in a project file just straight onto it. And then in the classic sort of Blue Peter, this is one I prepared earlier. And this is running at different heights along the same area. And when you run the external workflow now, these will light up green according to which step it's running in the queue. And if anything breaks, it'll go orange as well. So that's just a little useful kind of feature in there just to see you want to know where you're at in the status, and then of course the console sort of information is here. I also added a little timer in here, so when that's running, you can see how long it's been running for when you come back. So if I run this, it's going to break it, but let's do it anyway. So rather than a batch, I'm just going to do run all, and you'll see that console log is starting to be filled out, and this is where we're at an external queue. So it creates image lists of everything, feeds those to Cubemaps, make sure the masks are actually copied. So if I go to stream, and because it's an external workflow, everything is running here. So we have our Cubemap fisheye, and then you'll see the masks are actually combined here as a sort of safety to make sure Cubemap's going to read all of that properly. Then it's going to run feature extraction for all the cameras, and then it's going to run matching the fisheye. Then it's going to reconstruct that for the sparse cloud. Sometimes it creates more than one model, so it'll select the best one it can. I've also added in an alignment report, which is the same that we get for our internal Sphere SFM methodology for the stitched images, and that will write it like this. Let's open this with Notepad. And so it gets a very similar sort of report, but based on the external Cubemap. It just helps you get a better understanding of, this gave me a fair reprojection error, not brilliant. And if you wanted to, say, change any of these settings, obviously don't do it while it's running, but say on the feature extraction, you want to change that. I've changed this a little bit so it actually expands this so it's a little bit more readable. You can make this a lot wider to see everything in here, but you can edit these, so say you wanted to add in less features or something like that. So say we do 4096, it will switch that to custom just to make sure that you understand you've changed something there. And again, you just hit plus and save that as a new workflow. You can come back to that. And here is the result of that. Just done some training in post shot. You can see you get 2 Cubemap sets. Actually, yeah, let's have a look at the output images as well. And so what it's doing, this is from another solve. You can see the fisheye lens kind of looking out is the main image, and then the side ones are the edges of the fisheye itself. And so it writes out masks for all of these, but we get a less distorted image than we were getting in the legacy method. And so when you come to train, you'll get essentially each one of those fisheye lenses is now a Cubemap output. And so I just turn those off. I find it's been getting pretty good results. And again, I did post up some tests of the Stitch 360 image versus a fisheye raw method. And some areas, one method was better than the others, and in other areas, in terms of like the distance stuff, the stitched image was better. So for me, the jury's still a little bit out. Technically, yes, the raw method should be correct because there is this separation between the 2 lenses. There's the gap in the camera, about 5 centimeters, well, 2 centimeters, something like that. So it should be correct, but in practice, it's not always the case. But yeah, I'd be interested in your thoughts on the Discord group. So to let you know also, I'm actually going to cancel this here. I did notice there are some issues with like brush and look field in terms of the settings. So I've updated that. They basically changed something and that broke when we was training. I encourage you to go to their Discord and look at their settings. It seems to be different hardware. These are all set up to use masks. And if you wanted to, you could just launch it from here and then add in where we're going to get the Cubemap output. So you could just drop that in Oh, this is probably because I'm processing halfway through and I've just cancelled it so that it's not written out sparse cloud maybe. But you can, oh, maybe I'll just drop that on. Let's have a look. Oh, sorry, yeah. Field. So you would drop the Cubemap folder on that's been outputted to the external folder, and then you'll get the data set. So you can just manually load them up here and then do your own settings or see what other people have used. And you can edit these here and then just save it again. There's quite a few I've kind of added in, and that's just from sort of researching what would kind of work. But please feel free to update this and add your own in there as well. I think that's everything off the top of my head. There's lots and lots of bug fixes in there, and mostly on the raw workflows. They seem to work a lot better now. Yeah, let me know on the Discord or even comment on this video any issues you're kind of running into or features you want added. And yeah, I'll look forward to seeing the results and hopefully some good feedback. Thanks very much for listening.